Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. It's that time of the weekend, Premier League predictions time. The games are coming thick and fast. We are entering that busy period of the season, edging ever closer to the halfway point of this current campaign. And we've got another round of Premier League fixtures with some huge games coming up that is going to affect the entirety of the Premier League table. And this, of course, is the video where I go through each and every single one of them games, talk about them, analyse them, and of course give my predictions on how I think the outcome will be. Before we go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. But mainly, I want you to get involved in the comments section. Do tell me what you think about each and every single game. Give me your thoughts, your comments, opinions. But most of all, of course, give me your predictions on how you think each and every game will end up this weekend. I'd love to hear from you all. I'm sure you have a lot of interesting thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, all on that. So do get involved down below. But without further ado, let's get on with the predictions. Okay, we're kicking things off with a Friday night encounter between Nottingham Forest and Tottenham Hotspur, and it comes live from the City Ground. Big game this one between two sides who stopped their own little rots in their last outings, of course, with Nottingham Forest drawing 1-1 with Wolverhampton Wanderers, putting an end towards a mini bad spell that they were on, whilst Tottenham, of course, were winless in their last 5 games before that huge 4-1 victory against Newcastle last time out. Massive game this one for a Nottingham Forest side that are looking to ease the pressure a little bit on Steve Cooper. Remember, we said last week that a bad result against Wolves could have seen the end of Steve Cooper at his job at Nottingham Forest. But as it so happened, a 1-1 draw has seemingly bought him enough time to make it to at least this game. It'll be interesting to see what happens with his fate if this game does end in a bad result for Forest going forward. As for Spurs, they'll come into this game as the favourites. Of course they will. Postecoglou got them playing some really good football, but not often are the results in their favour, especially in recent times. But they'll definitely fancy their chance against a Forest side that are down on their luck, not playing very well. But of course, when Forest are at home, you cannot take that kind of thing for granted. So it could make for an interesting game, but I'm still going to say that Spurs are going to come out as the winners here. And then what happens with Steve Cooper afterwards will be very interesting to view from afar. So, whilst that is going to be another question for later on down the line, I'm going to say that Spurs come out of this game with the 3 points, the victory, and I'm going to say that Spurs win this game by 3-1. Next up, we're moving on to the Saturday 3 o'clock games, and first up, we are at the Vitality Stadium for Bournemouth taking on Luton Town. Massive game this one for a Bournemouth side that are unbeaten in their last 5 league games, with their last outing being an incredible 3-0 victory over Manchester United, of course, whilst Luton are without a win in their last 3 games, losing 3 on the bounce, with their latest loss being a difficult 2-1 defeat to take at the hands of Manchester City. Massive game for both of these sides, but of course Bournemouth come into this one in extremely fine form and have got a very good opportunity to make it 6 games unbeaten here and maybe put another win under their belts and another 3 points towards Premier League safety for the Cherries in this game. Luton will be difficult opposition, but being away from home, it don't look exactly good for the Hatters going into this game, and especially with the kind of football and form that Bournemouth are in particular, a certain Dominic Solanke who's enjoying a very good season, probably the best season he's had in the Premier League. So it's looking very good for the Cherries, and I would strongly suspect that the Cherries come out of this game with the 3 points and the victory. Nothing's ever a foregone conclusion, of course, and Luton will battle hard to try and get something from this game, but ultimately I do think it will be in vain. I see Bournemouth stretching their unbeaten run to 6 games unbeaten, which is why I am going to say that this game will end 2-0? 2-0 to the Cherries? Something like that. Next, we're off to Stamford Bridge for Chelsea against Sheffield United. Jesus Christ, this could be anything. Chelsea, last time out, lost once again. They were humiliated at the expense at the hands of Everton in a 2-0 losing effort to the Toffees on Sunday, while Sheffield United picked up their first win under their new/old manager Chris Wilder with a 1-0 victory over Brentford, of course. Massive game for Chelsea, this one. Massive game for Sheffield United. If Chelsea are to lose this game, I hate to think what the fan base is going to turn into, because they really shouldn't be losing this game. And we've said that time and time again about Chelsea throughout this season so far. And I can never predict Chelsea results. Whenever I predict them to do well, they let me down and they lose. Whenever I predict them to lose, they sometimes go on and win. And when I predict them to draw, it's really just the opposite of anything that I choose. So I really do not know what to predict for this game. Sheffield United, they gave Liverpool a good account of themselves in the debut, or the second debut, should I say, of Chris Wilder back at the club that he used to be at, obviously, before. And then, of course, they've got a very good, strong, grinded out 1-0 victory against Brentford, who we know can be hit and miss at times, but Sheffield United very good on the day. So this one could be anything, and I would expect Sheffield United to once again give Chelsea a run for their money. And it, honestly, under the current situation, current circumstances, wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea managed to falter in this game yet again, and Sheffield United were able to take advantage and grind out a win here. I'm going to call it down the middle again, though. I'm going to say it's a draw. I'm going to say with the current form of the two sides, it's going to be a draw. Chelsea could easily run away with it and get the victory, but they would need their shooting boots on at the very least to, of course, get this game done and dusted. But I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw come the final whistle. So there you have it. Not confident, but there you have it. Next up, the Etihad Stadium awaits Manchester City against Crystal Palace. Both of these sides had 2-1 scorelines in their last Premier League games, with City being on the right end of a 2-1 scoreline against Luton, whilst Palace were on the wrong end of a 2-1 scoreline against Liverpool. City stopped the rot. They got back to winning ways. They were, of course, 4 games without a win before that 2-1 win against Luton. And you would probably expect them, with them being at home, to, of course, get the job done against Crystal Palace side, who are in a bit of a bad run of form under their current manager, Roy Hodgson. However, in previous years, Palace have been a bit of a thorn in the side of Manchester City. They've sometimes managed to pick up a couple of good results here and there against Pep Guardiola's side, and you wouldn't put it past Palace that in the current run of form of Manchester City, who aren't exactly playing well, to maybe seek to take advantage of that. They were close last weekend to picking up something against Liverpool, where Liverpool not playing very well. So we do know that if City don't turn up in this game completely, Palace will have the opportunity to somewhat upset Pep Guardiola's side in this game. And of course, they very much have the capabilities to do that. City will need to play better than what they did against Luton. They were somewhat fortunate to pick up a win there. They've not exactly been playing great leading up to this game. But obviously, with the gap at the top of the table being as it is, and with them obviously going to the Club World Cup, that is going to be kicking off very soon. They'll be missing a couple of weeks of Premier League action, so that was obviously going to be something to be considered for Pep Guardiola and for Manchester City. They'll want to obviously leave for that competition on a high note before obviously taking their place in a competition they've never played in before. So this one could be very interesting to say the least. I'm going to go with a Man City win, because even though I feel like if they don't play well, Palace could catch them on an off day, they still should find a way to win this game. And I'm going to go with a 2-1 win in favour of City. Next up, we're at St James's Park for a big clash between Newcastle and Fulham, with Newcastle looking to get back to winning ways after suffering back-to-back losses last week, first at the hands of Everton and then to Tottenham, where they lost 4-1 last weekend, whilst Fulham have been absolutely free-scoring recently and have put together 2 back-to-back 5-0 victories last week, with obviously beating Nottingham Forest last week, and then last weekend beating West Ham by that same 5-0 scoreline. This is going to be a very interesting game. Newcastle have been very inconsistent, but at home we know that they can be extremely tough for anybody and anybody. for everybody and anybody. So this one could be very interesting. But Fulham, like I say, have been free scoring recently. They've scored 16 goals in their last 4 games. 10 of them in their last 2. They lost to obviously Liverpool before that by 4 goals to 3, scoring 3 at Anfield. And then, of course, they managed to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 3-2 in the game before that one. So they have been free scoring at will recently. And it's going to be a very intriguing game. And I would suspect that there probably will be more goals in this game to come. I just think that Newcastle being at home, they'll feel a bit more comfortable, a bit more confident. The game midweek, though, against AC Milan could play a factor in the legs of those Newcastle players. And let's face it, with the amount of injuries and fitness level issues that Newcastle currently possess, I wouldn't be surprised if Fulham were able to take advantage of that. So, I'm going to go with a high-scoring game. I'm going to go... You know what, with the form that Fulham are in, I want to say that they get a point from this game. I'm going to go 2-2 come the final whistle. For our Saturday night viewing, it comes from Turf Moor as Burnley host Everton. Big relegation battle this one between a Burnley side who drew 1-1 with Brighton last week, whilst Everton are in some fine form right now. And last time out, they picked up the 3 points against the obviously down in the dumps Chelsea side, with the Toffees running out as 2-0 winners, and Sean Dyche managing to claw back 9 points of the 10 that they were deducted not long ago. So big game this one. Everton leapt out the relegation zone last weekend, and they'll be looking to maintain their position outside the relegation zone with a favourable game against Burnley here. Burnley managed to surprise some by getting something against Brighton last week in a game that is always going to be difficult for any side to go up against. But I think in this game, with the kind of form Everton are in, and with the form obviously of Sean Dyche's men, who obviously will be, if you're into narrative and subplots, will be making his return to Turf Moor in the opposite dugout this time around of Everton. It's going to be a very intriguing game, but one that I think Everton can certainly navigate through. I'm going to go with an Everton win, and I'm going to say that the Toffees come out of this game as another 2-0 win for the away side. Moving on to Sunday's games, and first up we have got Arsenal taking on Brighton and Hove Albion at the Emirates Stadium. 2 o'clock kickoff for your Sunday afternoon viewing. Arsenal, of course, come into this game looking to get back to winning ways after a 1-0 defeat at the hands of Aston Villa last week, whilst Brighton also come into this game looking to get back to winning ways following a 1-1 draw with Burnley last weekend. So massive game this one between the Arsenal side looking to get back on top of the Premier League table, obviously after slipping off it last weekend at the hands of Aston Villa, and of course Liverpool taking advantage of that. And the Brighton side, who have not been fully at the races as we would expect them to be at the beginning of the season. They're still going strong here and there, but they have been quite inconsistent. Arsenal, I feel, can take advantage of that, and I feel like with how open and how expressive Brighton can play, I feel like Arsenal can play through the lines and can play through the gaps, and obviously get a very good result in this game. And I would expect them to get the job done by any means necessary here. So I would expect Arsenal to get back to winning ways. That's not to say Brighton can't get anything from this game. Of course they can't. They're Brighton at the end of the day. And if anybody's going to be able to play through Arsenal as well, or have the capabilities to beat Arsenal, it's going to be this Brighton side. But I just feel like with how inconsistent Brighton are compared to how they play and how Arsenal will play, I feel like Arsenal can take advantage of what Brighton will have to offer. So I'm going to go with an Arsenal win, and I'm going to say that the Gunners come out of this one as 2-1 winners. For our next game, we are going to Brentford for Brentford's game against Aston Villa. Brentford come into this game off the back of a 1-0 defeat to Sheffield United last week, whilst Aston Villa, of course, are high-flying right now. And after they beat Manchester City and Arsenal last week in the space of a few days. Villa find themselves in third. They're high-flying. They are in incredible form. But if Brentford can take away something from this game, it would be a very good result for Brentford first and foremost, but they will also be helped by the fact that Aston Villa's away form isn't exactly as good as their home form, so that could be a possible silver lining for Brentford here. However, in saying that, on the flip side of things, Brentford do have a tendency to slip up in games like this, and obviously they can be very inconsistent. Whilst they very much could hurt Aston Villa on the counter-attack, and they very much could exploit the extremely high line that Aston Villa play at times, they have a tendency to be inconsistent and of course play some good football, but not always have the capabilities to be prolific in front of goal. So this one could be a very intriguing game to say the least. I'm looking forward to what could be a very interesting, contrasting game of football between these two sides, and seeing the kind of tactical matchup of a Thomas Frank versus an Unai Emery. So with that all being said, I'm going to go with an Aston Villa win. I'm going to say that Villa just about managed to get the job done. Then again, whatever I predict with Brentford seems to always go the opposite way, so we'll see how this one goes. I think Villa will keep up their good run of form. I think they've got an incentive and obviously something to latch onto with these kinds of games now. So I'm going to go with a Villa win, and I'm going to say that Villa come out of this one as, I think they're in good goal scoring form, so I'm going to go 3-1 to Unai Emery's side. The penultimate game on this list sees West Ham United take on Wolverhampton Wanderers at the London Stadium. Great game this one. West Ham will be looking to bounce back from that absolutely humiliating and embarrassing 5-0 defeat that they suffered at the hands of Fulham last weekend, whilst Wolves were obviously drew 1-1 with Nottingham Forest in their last Premier League outing. It's an intriguing game, this one. West Ham strong at home. West Ham very difficult to beat against the Wolverhampton Wanderers side, who are difficult to beat themselves, play some good football, but don't seem to have the prolific capabilities in front of goal to at times manage to put teams to the sword when it matters most. It's going to be an interesting game, this one, between these two sides. Great, interesting contrast of counter-attacking football that is going to be at play here. I would expect West Ham to maybe take their chances when they fall to them. Wolves, it's all about whether or not they can make their good football pay at the end of it in the final third, which has often been their downfall this season. So, with that being said, I want to go with a draw, because although I could see either side nicking it, I don't think either side will have the full capabilities, whether it be defensively or attackingly, to get the job done and dusted overall. Either side could go on and win it, but I'm going to call it down the middle. I'm going to say it's going to be a draw, and I'm going to say that this game ends 1-1 come the final whistle. And finally, in what I believe to be the game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this entire Premier League weekend, it is of course, coming from Anfield, Liverpool versus Manchester United. Jurgen Klopp versus Erik ten Hag, a massive game in prospect for your Sunday afternoon viewing at Anfield. Look, you don't need me to tell you that this is a massive game. We all know the history of these two clubs. We all know that this is a fierce battle, a fierce rivalry. We know that this is a clash of the two top clubs in England, two of the biggest clubs in world football, two of the most successful clubs in world football, and obviously in English football especially. We know that this is a massive battle, and we know that obviously the scenario at play here is that Liverpool come into this game at the top of the table in very good form, results wise at least, and Manchester United have been extremely hit and miss so far this campaign and come into this game in 6th place. How they are in 6th place and that high up, I honestly don't know. With the issues and problems that Manchester United are facing, somehow 6th is kind of flattering to Manchester United in my opinion. It's actually kind of weird that they are still in that kind of high of a position, but there you have that kind of scenario. Liverpool should absolutely wipe the floor with these lot. There's no two ways about it. With the way that Liverpool are playing, with their title aspirations seemingly becoming more and more of a goal for Liverpool Football Club, and with the way that they're playing, they're not exactly playing to the best of their ability, but they're grinding out results and they're getting the job done when it matters most. Liverpool should absolutely wipe the floor with a Manchester United side that are not in the best of form. Defensively, they're shaky. Injury problems are mounting up. And to add insult to injury and to really rub salt into the wounds, they're going to be without their main creative influence for this game in Bruno Fernandes, who will be suspended for Sunday's trip to Liverpool. So, United face issues of their own. Liverpool should absolutely wipe the floor with these, but this is the Premier League. This is a league in which if you take something for granted completely, if you are to take your eye off the ball even for a split second in this game, if you are to turn up to this game and think instantaneously that this is a foregone conclusion and that Liverpool, being the favourite, should automatically win this game, that's when it can come back to bite you. And if it does, you only have yourself to blame, because the Liverpool side should not be being beaten by Manchester United. But I said earlier on in the season that Liverpool should absolutely wipe the floor with Luton Town, and look how that ended up. So if Liverpool think that this game is a foregone conclusion, if Liverpool turn up and they think that they've won the game before a ball is even kicked, Manchester United could possibly spring a surprise in this one and maybe, just maybe, get something from this game. However, in saying that, I am going to go with my original thoughts. I am going to go with my head and my heart and my gut, really. But even though my head sort of has slight doubt in it, because obviously this is the Premier League and anything can happen, and obviously the stars align on one day, and obviously if things decide to go against Liverpool, United could potentially pull off a surprise here. But I don't see it happening, in all honesty. I think Liverpool will wipe the floor with them. I think Liverpool will absolutely destroy Manchester United and potentially put the final nail in the Erik ten Hag managerial coffin at Manchester United and Old Trafford. So that is why I am going to go with a Liverpool victory. I'm going to say that they're going to play the better football. I'm going to say that they're going to create the better opportunities. They're going to win the midfield battle, and defensively they're going to neutralise anything that Manchester United have to offer in an offensive approach. And I'm going to say that Liverpool come out of this game as, you know what, I think they will get like a lucky goal or something. So I'm going to go with a 3-1 victory in favour of Liverpool. But it's going to be a very comfortable 3-1 victory. At least I hope so, with Mohamed Salah turning up and absolutely putting United to the sword, as he so often does. And there you have it. Those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all of the games that are coming up this weekend in another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures? What are your own thoughts, your own comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, what are your own opinions on each and every single game that's coming up in another round of Premier League fixtures? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'm sure it'll all make for great and interesting reading. Cannot wait to hear from you all in regards to all of that. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, or sorry, Premier League predictions video, should I say. And I will see you and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for stopping by and watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and I'll speak to you all again soon.